Okay, 181 Lake Road.
Oops, I'm out of order. Sorry. 181 Lake Road, located at 181 Lake Road, applicant Ken Morrow is requesting area variances to allow the following. A lot size of 7,600 square feet where 18,000 square feet is required. B, a front setback of 33 feet where 75 feet is required. C, a side setback of 5 feet where 15 feet is required. D, a building height of 39 feet where 30 feet maximum is allowed, associated with the construction of a 3-story single-family dwelling on a .19 acre parcel having SBL number 063.09-1-54, located in a WD Waterfront Development District under Section 225-22 of the Code of the Town of Webster.
Good evening. Could you identify yourself for the record and tell us about the project, Al?
Good evening. Al LaRue, McMahon LaRue says it. The owner, Ken Morrow, and his wife are here in the back. We're asking for variances that are needed to build a reasonable house on a small lot. And because the house itself is in a floodplain, so we're impacted by all those issues and wetlands and that sort of thing. So the lot is 7,600 square feet, where the 18,000 is required. The front setback, we're at 33 feet. I think we've kept the variances to a minimum. 75 feet is required because it's on a county road. Our map shows 25, but that was because they didn't realize it was on a county road for some reason. Side setbacks 5 feet. We're a little bit more than that. We got 5 feet 2 inches to make up for siding and that sort of thing, where 15 is required. And the building height. We've talked a lot about building height, and essentially the ground floor is essentially the basement. And that basement's going to be elevated a little bit above the floodplain. So we've settled on 39 feet as a building height. We've taken a look at a bunch of plans, I'm sure you have too, that 39 feet from a basement floor to the roof is not unheard. It's pretty ordinary, actually.
Do you have any architectural plans for the houses?
No, we don't have architectural plans. They've been looking at it, but they want to wait until we get some variances to know what we're working with, because it's an unknown quantity at this point.
Nothing happens on these lots without variances. The lots are substandard. They're
Very
narrow.
true.
There's we've seen variances on several properties in this area. The amount of variances has been different on every one. We did get a couple letters from concerned neighbors that we could read into the record. Many of the homes have a 5-foot side setback. Usually, they'll shift the house so they have access to the water with a vehicle. I mean, most of the ones we've looked at, you could correct me if I'm wrong, but usually have 5 on one side, maybe 7 on the other, just so they could get a vehicle, or 8 feet on the other side.
What we had attempted to do, because a lot of the homes along this stretch of the Sandbar have been reconstructed, is back in 2013 when we started this row of new construction, the board had aimed for an east side setback of 5 feet. In most of the occasions, there is one that is at 10 feet, and then a west side setback between 9 and 12. And that's been fairly consistent along the stretch.
And we've provided a mutual easement between the structures of 10 feet for access to the water on the east side of 181 and the west side of 185. So there's a reciprocal easement agreement for access over that 10-foot strip. It's actually 10.3 or 10.4 physical between the structures. So we have that there for access. And they're small lots, so we're trying to mitigate, trying to get enough of a house.
We had, as I said, we had a couple of comments from the neighbors. We'll read those in a minute. Now, typically, we saw a similar situation down by the Glen Edith where they wanted the variances before the house plan. A little more complex.
A little more.
A lot more complex.
Okay. That's right.
Well, how do you know you need the variances? But these lots here are so compact, maybe that's not really comparable.
I'm not concerned with the side setback or front setback being requested. I'd like to know why the need for the height, and I'd like to know what it would look like. You know, could we minimize that by a different roof style? Things of that nature.
And that's exactly my concern. I mean, we were very consistent with the lots 213, 203, 195, 193, 189. They were, for the most part, 40-foot wide lots, which is what you have to work with. And everyone came in asking for less side setbacks than the board actually allowed, because we did try and make sure that there was, but by doing the setbacks that we did, there's still at least a 15-foot separation between the dwellings, everything being biased to the east. And we've, for the one that did require or request a height variance, we also asked for a view of the roof line, because a fairly steep pitched roof where the peak of it is at 39 is very different than a big flat roof where the whole thing is at 39, and I've got a wall basically for the residents on either side of these two properties.
No, we understand that.
I mean, I understand your lot is very narrow, but it's really no different than anyone else has had to contend with along that stretch of the Sandbar, so.
In order to get the square footage of the house you want, would it be possible to make the house narrower and come closer to the road? Because our front setbacks, see, without a plan, it's tough. We're just talking ideas, you know. The front setbacks on the other buildings are less.
Yes, I've got one at 30, and then they kind of stagger back, 26, 26, and then 15 and 14 are further up the road.
I guess, now, as far as the height goes, let's get off the side setbacks for a minute. If it's 3 stories, and it's, say, 9, 9, and 10, say 10, say you want 9-foot ceilings on the first floor, so you got 9, 9, 10, that's 28.
Well,
And then, it depends what pitch you put on the roof.
The one difference is all of the mechanicals have to be in the floor area. So we really, probably gonna be some micro lambs in there, and it's probably gonna be thicker than a normal floor. So where the ground floor is gonna be at a set height, there's gonna be that bigger differential between the next two, because you're gonna be running a lot of the mechanicals through there. So I
Well,
think it's...
that's an assumption, though.
That's what they did at a couple of the other homes as well.
But that's an assumption, you know. I'd like to see a architectural drawing showing the height.
Well, we can take that off the table, if you wish,
Okay.
Well,
and come back with architectural plans.
we're not, you know, it will just be easier for us. In other words, if you only need 36 feet, we'd rather give you a variance for 36 rather than 39, that's all. I mean, I understand your argument, that first floor just
Yeah.
keeps is the big, it just keeps everything up out of the water. It's the garage underneath the house probably, no doubt.
Yeah.
And
Well,
then you
we've
have a
talked-
two-story house on top of that.
We've talked outside, and 36 is I think, probably the minimum where we want to be. If that works, but, you know, again, if it's going to be less than that, then we should just take that off the table and do it later.
Would it be possible just to do a schematic showing floor, roof, and what the pitch of the roof is to get us the total height? You know, not without spending a lot of money on plans, just.
Well, at another meeting perhaps, but, so it might be better for us at this point to just not consider it, and then we'll make another application for the height.
Okay.
That way we can get going on site planning and that sort of thing with all the other area variances.
Let's do this. Let's continue to discuss the area variances. And if it looks like there's anything that needs to be adjusted there, we could table and do everything at once. Because you're going to get
Okay.
variances here. The question is,
Sure.
what exact variances? Okay. I don't know. I understand what Corinne's saying, but the ingress egress easement kind of puts an end to my argument that they can't get to the water or get to the backyard. I mean, it's just it's another way to do it.
And that's why we did it that way.
Yeah, there's, look on the map, there's houses right up against the lot lines. I mean, pre-existing houses. Not that we want to see that.
No, and I understand that, but we took a stand as a board when all of the other houses were reconstructed after the Christmas Eve event. And we maintained consistent setbacks, and everyone did not get the setbacks that they wanted because the applicant at 189, I believe, was requesting 5 feet on each side and did not get that. The board instead compromised and asked the applicants to consider a narrower house so that they could have the 5 feet on the east side. And then on the west side, they varied. I actually tabulated it out just so I could get a feel for the trend. 189 is, the house is at 14 feet and the step overhead entry area is at 9 feet. 193 is at 9 feet. 195 is at 5 feet. But that when the house is, the east side setback is at 15 feet, so that's just swapped. 203, it's at 12 and a half feet. 177 was given 10 feet, but they didn't build, so that's expired. So everyone along that stretch has been biased 5 feet on one side and then, 9, 10 feet to the house or to the side entranceway. I think, and those were for the people that were already there who lost their houses and had to reconstruct them. So and it's just my own personal opinion, we were consistent with them when they were already there, so I think we need to be consistent with anything further that comes along that stretch of the Sandbar.
Yeah, and to that point, I recall at 189, there was actually quite a discussion over the decks and steps
Right.
on the west side of the house because they were moving into that. And we also want some space for sunlight and things like that. We're not trying to create, a row house effect where we want some space between these houses on one side. And so to Mrs. Vola's point, that's why we've staggered them that way as we went through this process back, 5-6 years ago. There was, considerable pushback that people wanted wider houses, but the lots just don't support that. 5 foot's just too tight on both sides.
Josh, we have or Corinne, did you want to read the letters?
I can. The board received 2 letters. I don't think we received any further from neighbors. Dear zoning board members, regarding 181 Lake Road and 185 Lake Road projects on the agenda for September 8th of 2020, we are writing to ask the board to consider the following changes to these proposed projects. 181 Lake Road, a maximum width of 24 feet instead of 29 feet being proposed. This would allow for an 8-foot side setback instead of 5-foot setbacks requested where 15 feet is required, and a maximum height of 30 feet instead of the 39 feet being requested. 185 Lake Road, also a maximum width of 24 feet instead of the 29 feet being proposed. This would allow for an 8-foot side setback instead of the 5 feet being proposed, where 15 feet is required. A maximum height of 30 feet instead of the 39 feet being requested. We are requesting these changes so that the new structures will be in conformity with the immediate neighborhood and will be more appropriate for the 40-foot wide lot sizes. The additional side setbacks will provide more distance between the houses for aesthetics and also fire safety. Respectfully submitted for your consideration, Robert and Marjorie Gaskin, 189 Lake Road, Webster, New York, 14580. The next one, board members, the comment below was received on the town's website for your meeting tomorrow. Board meeting comment form, names George Margot Nowak, address 100 Harvard Street, Rochester, New York, it's the mailing address for this family. Board meeting, you are commenting on the zoning board meeting, agenda number 3, 181, and number 4, 185 Lake Road. We are the owners of 177, 175, and 173 Lake Road, the 3 adjacent lots to the west of 181. We are pleased to see the proposed development since we have postponed doing anything with our lots due to the condition of the 181 and 185 Lake Road lots. Our basic concern is water runoff from the combined effect of the 2 projects of the completed development due to the topography. The proposed dwellings in Blacktop are much larger than what exists on the other narrower lots. Positioning them with decreased side lot space creates an appearance of congested housing. Side lot requirements allow for privacy between families with less noise transmission. Less side lot area creates more water runoff on the neighboring properties. We all know that what too much water can do in this specific area on Lake Road from our experience in 2019 and 2017.
Is it possible, I mean, you haven't designed the structures yet. It's clear you're going to get variances to build these structures. Could you come up with a home that's 25.33 feet wide? Would that, could you design a house within that? That'll give us a 9 foot on one side.
When's the next meeting?
What's the third? 14. September 22nd.
September 22nd. What I'd like to do is I'd like to postpone this hearing and talk it over with my clients.
Yeah, that makes sense to do that. For what I'm hearing from all the members of the board, and Corinne was here, I was here, Eric was here way back when those homes sadly, terribly, they burned down and then they had to rebuild. And if you drive down, I drove through there a couple times to just make sure I was seeing the right things, and sure enough, one of the yards on each house is larger, which could. But I guess, I mean, a good designer may be able to come up with a great floor plan that's that width, and then at the same time look at the height, so we'll know exactly what height variance is required, if any. In other words, we'd like you to maybe go to the drawing board and see what you can come up with that would address that one side, 5 on one side and maybe 9 on the other, and that makes the house 25.33 feet wide.
Yeah, let me get with my clients and postpone both hearings.
Just, you want a table?
Yeah, table both hearings until the 22nd.
Then you can go to your designer. Maybe you might come up with a great plan that fits into that footprint, and then this board is good to go. So, The applicant has requested table. I'll make a motion that we table till the September 22nd meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. And then, yeah, you'll be on it. You'll be first up because you'll be tabled out.
Great, thank you very much.
And obviously, the two applications are identical, almost identical, so there's really, you want to do the same thing and table for the next application as well?
Yeah.
I'm assuming? Okay. All right, so the applicants made a request to table for 185 Lake Road as well, so I'll make a motion that we table to September 22nd. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.